This is the Job Search Activity Android application. Our mission is to get you the right seat on the right bus for you. When you first enter the job search, there's something that happens to you that you must deal with. When you had a job, you had a set of responsibilities, and you had somebody to whom you're accountable. This is what drives activity. The old maxim, what gets measured gets done, is true. And it gets done because you're accountable to somebody. When you enter the job search, you lose that accountability. And it's very important that you find a way to deal with this issue, and that's the purpose of this Android app. Our mission, as I said, was to get you the right seat on the right bus, and we want to help you keep this promise to yourself. That is, I will stay focused and accelerate my success, because if you do, you will win that job more quickly. This is the Android app icon. When you click on it, you come to this first screen. We're going to take you quickly through those 5 icons there. The first one is the input icon. This takes you to the input screen, and you'll notice that the field that's partially hidden in the screenshot is the activity date. It defaults to today, but you can put a prior date if you're catching up on your activity. Then you would put in the kind of activity that you have, and I'll show you a list here of those activities. These are all directed around the job search, and they're different kinds. They're emailing and phoning and meeting and so on, even attending networking events. There's even towards the bottom there one for giving a speech, because giving a speech helps you become more articulate, gives you more self-confidence, gives you poise, and all these things are useful in the job interview. Each one of these activities then gets pooled into a category, and the 5 categories are being prepared, basic networking, power networking, getting the interview, and interviewing. These are the categories that we will use when we talk about reporting activities to your accountability group. You get points for the different activities. Every activity gets some raw points, and some activities get quality points depending on how focused they are on getting that interview and going to the interview. So you get activity points, raw points, and quality points. You can input then the name and contact information of the person that this activity is associated with. When you type in the first name, what the system does is it goes out into your contacts database, finds all the matches. You can then click on one of those matches. It will then fill in the rest of these fields on this form. If it's not an activity, if none of the contacts is there, you come back to the screen, click on last name, type in the last name, type in the Gmail address and phone number, and that will actually create a record in the contacts database. If there's an existing record and you want to change, for example, the email address, you delete the existing one on the screen and then type in a new one, and that will update the contacts database on the Android phone. Then you can put in a next action date or a follow-up date. Some date in the future that you want to reconnect with this contact, and then you can make a note around either what you talked about this time or about what you want to talk about in the future to remind yourself about this particular contact. Let's look at settings. Settings is where you establish your points goals, and now the system comes with some default point goals. There's a daily goal of 15 and a weekly goal of 75. The purpose of the daily goal is basically to keep you going every day, but the real goal that matters is your weekly goal. So suppose you use these defaults, and they're fine to use. The 15 points will be a little hard the first day and pretty easy by the 5th day. But suppose you get to Thursday, and now you've achieved your 75 points. You can actually take Friday off. You've achieved your weekly goal already. Or you can work perhaps at a little less urgent pace on Friday. Sending emails, if you click that box and then put an email, an existing email address of yours in there, the system will send you a reminder if you fail to update the system for a period of 2 days, providing you click on the Android application at some point during that period. Creating the accountability list. This is where you go in and you establish 2 or 3 other people who are in transition, and you're going to share your accountabilities with one another. This is how you stay on track. These people's job is to look at your daily report and give you feedback on your kind of activity. And I'll show you the daily report after we look at these screens. It's an email that gets sent by the system automatically to your accountability group. All you have to do is put in their email address, and then the level is A, typically for the accountability group. There's a B level too. The difference is the A level gets a daily report and the B level gets a weekly report. You might use that for somebody who's running a little networking group that you're a participant in and you want to keep them sort of up to date weekly on what you're doing. This is a list of the people that are in your accountability group. I just have two in this example, one who's an A and one who's a B. You can edit these or delete them using two icons on the left there. In order to send email automatically from the system to your accountability group, you need to designate a Gmail email account. That's because Android is linked to Gmail, and that facility allows you to send automated emails right out of the system. If you want to, you can set up a Gmail account specifically for this purpose. It's quite easy to do. Just go to gmail.com and set up an account, establish a password, come back here, put in the Gmail account and the password, and you're good to go. You can use an existing Gmail account if you like. It's entirely up to you. This is where you can look at your progress at any point in time. Just click on the progress icon. It'll show you where you are today, what you did yesterday, what you've done this week to date, including today, and what you did last week. In terms of your goal, your actual points, and your quality points. Allows you to sort of keep track of where you are. In addition, you can look at all of your activity at any point in time by clicking on View. And this is actually a grid that shows all of your activity from day one, but in reverse chronological order, so your most current stuff is up front. And you can click on the folder icon to edit any data. You can delete a record if you want by clicking on the red circle with a white X. If you want to look at information in a different way, for example, say you have 10 records in there for Abe Lincoln. Click on last name in the column header, and it will sort all those records by last name. And you will then, that'll pool all of the Abe Lincoln records together, and you can scroll down till you see all of them, and you can look at the history of your activity against Abe Lincoln. You can sort on any of those column headers by clicking on them. Then, if you had set up today as one of your follow-up dates for one of your records, this is where it will appear in the Do Today icon. Now, you have to click on this every day if you want to look at every day's activity. And you'll see this listing of all of the follow-ups that you've got. If you actually, suppose you call Abe Lincoln in this case and you have a conversation and you want to update the record, you don't have to create a new record from scratch. You can go in and click on this icon for the folder on the left. That'll bring up the input record. You'll put in a new date, which will be today, and you might put in a new activity and maybe a new note, a new follow-up date. And then when you go to save the record, when you hit the save button, the system will come back to you and ask you if you want to create a new record or update the old record. Well, of course, you want to create a new record because you want to get the new points. So you say new record, and it will create another record, and that gives you a history of the activity that you've engaged in with this particular contact. All right, so this is the extent of this activity in the Android app. Let me show you the screen that of an email that goes out to your accountability group. You'll see that it has your points goals, daily and weekly, and then it shows your actual points earned yesterday and thus far this week in terms of raw points and quality points, and that's in total. And then below that, it breaks those points down into the 5 categories that I mentioned earlier in terms of raw points and quality points yesterday and thus far this week. And those categories are being prepared, basic networking, and so on. The idea is that your accountability group can look at this and say, oh, well, all of your points are, say they're all down in being prepared and basic networking. You're focusing too much energy in those basic things. You need to start moving up the food chain into power networking and getting that interview. So start focusing on those kind of activities. The idea is to get you focused in the right direction. So that's the job search activity application on Android. Again, our mission is to get you the right seat on the right bus. Now, you'll notice that the app is not free. We are charging you the Android minimum, and the reason we can do that, we think this app is actually very valuable, but we're sponsored. So a lot of the development cost was defrayed. The Peak Interview is our sponsor. We are charging you the minimum amount that Android lets us charge. We have found that if we give an app away for free, people don't use it very much. But if they pay something for it, even a little bit, they're far more likely to use it. And we really want you to use this because we think it really will be beneficial to you. So for a very tiny investment, you get a tool that's really fantastic in accelerating your job search. So we want to wish you good luck and good hunting.